Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Insights from the Couch. Today, I am joined by my companion, Dr. Ana Maria Ryan, owner of what is it, Seven Counseling, owner of Seven Counseling, and I myself, I'm Yella Lee Smith, owner of, I do believe, the Traveling Therapist. I think that's. At 37, I'm starting to be concerned about my dementia problem. Um, and we're just kind of going to talk about a topic that came up while I was meeting with a friend today. Not today, but this week. I was meeting with him, and we discussed what is the reasoning behind giving, I would say, unnecessary negative feedback, because there is such a thing has constructive criticism and constructive feedback, and there's even such a thing as factual feedback. But like when it's absolutely unnecessary, when it's just a matter of, I'm just going to say this for the sake of being, I don't know,
Mean.
difficult, contrary, mean, cruel. um so what do you think, Dr. Ana Maria? Why do you think that people choose to do that? What do you think they get out of that?
Well, first of all, good morning, and thank you again for inviting me. Always a pleasure, not pressure, a pleasure sharing this time with you, and with the people who are listening to the podcast. So, yeah, that's an interesting question. I feel that that's just the very nature of humankind. Even before we had media exposure, I'm sure that people, even in the Middle Ages, if they were artists or they were performing or they were doing something or they had some sort of presence, social presence, they were subject to criticism. Likewise, I guess, again, it's just human nature. If you go and talk to a friend, sometimes that friend may have a little bit of selfish something going on for themselves against you, or like a little envy, and they may criticize you from that standpoint. So I think it's more like that sometimes, like trying to make yourself feel better about yourself by putting others down.
I, I think that when we think about the psychology of that, it goes back to Jung, um, and the dark side of the mind, and the study of that part of ourselves where we have those taboo thoughts. And I almost feel like at, behind the anonymity of a computer screen and an avatar and a random username, there's such a freedom to let out that part of you that's taboo, that part of you, because I think we all have critical thoughts, and like even mean thoughts. They're sometimes fleeting, sometimes uh they're more persistent than others. But I do think that now, because of the fact that we can just do it on a computer and do it on essentially anonymously. um
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think these days is definitely more encouraged. Even I gotta say, I have engaged, I'm not proud of this, a couple of times in some battles on social media that are not my own to fight. But I call it keyboard courage. And that was going to be a sub.
I love that.
I actually, when I did my dissertation, I thought about this subject. Like, what are people thinking with this personality or part of them that comes through? That makes them say whatever and be mean. Maybe it's what you're saying. People don't know who I am. I'm hiding behind my computer or my phone. And it is very interesting to see how other people just read comments. Like I have seen postings online where some people go like, I'm here for the comments, because inevitably it's just going to be a plethora of ideas, and most of them are really unkind for no reason. I will share with you a couple of years ago. I thought this was like hilarious, of course. Okay, so random thing, right? There was an ad, a Victoria's Secrets ad with Mariah Carey in Christmas time. And I was sick of it because I particularly don't care about Christmas music. So I just put a comment to the ad with like a facepalm emoji. That was it. Girl,
Oh, Lord.
let me tell you, all the Mariah Carey fans. I got so many awful things based on my profile picture.
Wow.
Like criticizing my tattoos, my facial features, my everything. Like, why are you? And I was like, oh geez, this was only an emoji face palm to an ad.
Yeah.
And I got all this so I don't know if it is creating entertainment for some people. It is kind of entertaining to see
Mhm.
that you're putting someone else down in a sort of obscure way, but it's, I guess it is entertaining. So there's that factor too.
I think that one thing I've noticed because I started to click on the profiles of people that started negative comments on videos, and when I look at those people's profiles, a lot of them are bots. A lot of them are not real profiles.
Hmm.
And the the thing is, us as people, we're so susceptible to psychological manipulation, where
Yeah.
it's
Oh, for
like,
sure.
right, so like I would imagine you have social media platforms that allow bots like this, and I've reported those profiles, and they've come back saying, "Oh no, you don't have a reason to report this profile," and it is clearly a fake profile. And but I think between social media supporting those fake profiles being established and maintained, and then people exploiting that method of making money and clickbaiting. Um, we have basically like created this mindset of like, oh no, this is just what happens. Like people just express themselves in this way. No, actually, the more I look at it, the more I notice that you're being taken as a fool. Like these individuals who are setting up these comments are doing it a lot of the times for a reason. They want to poke at that dark side of your mind and give you permission to be nasty and to be a cruel person, because at the end of the day, they're going to make money out of that. They're going to get clicks, they're going to get attention to their profiles, they're going to get like a lot of them end up in like um how do you call them, like OnlyFans pages. A lot of them yeah. So I think that that people are thinking that they're, oh, this is somebody that's really speaking the truth and speaking from the heart. No, no, I'm sorry to tell you that you're probably being taken advantage of by some random person that's trying to lead you on and take and just use you. Um, which I think is very sad.
Yeah, it sure is. But even without the platforms, like I still believe that there is this need for us as humans to give feedback to other humans about the way we see things. So you were talking about constructive criticism and factual feedback. I have to say that I kind of don't believe in that sometimes because it depends on who's looking at it. It's kind of like I got another short story for you. Long time ago, I also have a degree in fine art, and I was presenting my work in front of the class, with other people that were doing the same thing for critics, right? The
Mhm.
professor was going to go ahead and tell us what he thought. When he came to my piece, he said to me, "Oh my God, you are never going to be good at painting, even if you continue to paint for the rest of your life. The next 30 years, you will never be good at this." And I was like, okay, that was unnecessary because it may seem like constructive criticism, but in fact, it wasn't.
Yeah,
And
no,
I
I
don't know
don't, that
how
doesn't sound
factual. No, it doesn't sound constructive. And I think he had a personal vendetta for me. I mean, so whatever. But whatever the case it is, we're talking about why people put other people down. And
Mhm.
my idea is that it is number one, human nature, and number two, it stems from the person's perception. Because you really cannot give any kind of input on someone else's life or condition or whatever is happening with that person because you're not in that person's life, you're not in that person's shoes, you really don't know the full situation because you're not that person. So another thing is, if you're not asked for feedback, most likely I would say, I don't know, maybe I was raised in a different time when if you're not asked for the feedback, then don't give the feedback, or if you don't have something good to say, it's probably not a good thing to say. I don't know. That's just me personally. It has nothing to do with me as a psychologist. It's just as a human.
I have two thoughts on that. I think my first thought is maybe there was a little bit of transference in that comment because I tell people all the time, kill me with your honesty because
Oh, shut.
I personally value honesty above all else. Um, and so even if a person may seem cruel, I'd rather know what you're really thinking rather than this fake facade uh, of just politeness and kindness that you really don't feel. So that's my first thought is maybe I had a little bit of transference in that comment because I'm like, I personally would rather hear the person say whatever is going through their mind because I want to know what you're thinking. Really.
Yeah, that's true. I would rather know. I'm like you. I prefer honesty 100%, but I think it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So it is different saying something like, well, you're for example, my thing that happened with the professor, it would have been different had he said something like your work needs a little bit more technique. This is where you are needing some guidance. I don't think that the speech is good enough for ABC. That's being honest. But the way he said it, I think it was
Yeah,
unnecessary. So that's kind of
yeah,
like where I was coming from. And
yeah.
the other thing is like, yes, it's good to be honest, but sometimes as a therapist, right? Like, I don't know about you, but I try to give my clients feedback in a very kind way. But I try to be soft about it. I'm not like I'm gonna hit anybody with a 2x4 over the head. That's not my style. But I'll be completely honest with you. And
Yeah.
sometimes I remain quiet until the person asks for feedback because the situation may be complex and I'm trying to understand it. So what I'm saying is that sometimes we're really quick giving that feedback based on our perception, and sometimes
Mhm.
we are just brutally honest, maybe borderline mean, and there's no need for that. And some people do it on purpose. It's not because they
Mhm.
want to be honest, they just really want to get at you and they want to hurt you. So I'm sorry that I cut you off because you had 2 points on what I said and I did interrupt you. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
that's okay. No, but you make a very good point in that is that there is such a thing as to me, the definition of constructive criticism should include constructive in the criticism. Like if your criticism is the tone is rude, it's unnecessarily personal, if if it seems like you're going after the individual themselves and not trying to construct a better situation for them or help them in some way, then that's not constructive criticism. That's just you being critical in general and your tone may be very rude because you are a critical person. The second thing that I'm thinking is I think that people, no matter what, have a need to be able to let out some of the darker side of their mind. And they have like I think that because we come from an Anglo-Saxon uh here in the United States, primarily an Anglo-Saxon, and maybe I'm not a historian, so please forgive me, but I'm pretty sure that this is correct. An Anglo-Saxon heritage, like the background of those who came and developed what is America today, were primarily Anglo-Saxon and very religious and
Pilgrims.
yes, exactly. So there, because of the religious aspect of our upbringing and our culture, this idea of letting out the dark side of our mind or expressing ourselves in a way that may be somewhat taboo is has been always frowned upon. And for me, for example, I tell people I have a very good relationship with my dark side. I let out my demons. I know for a fact has an INFJ. I have a very, very, very powerful dark side. I have a Jesus complex where I want to save the entire world, and at the same time, I have in my mind there's a part of me that makes Hitler look like freaking baby.
Well, as a matter of fact, funny you mentioned that because I'm also an INFJ and Hitler was an INFJ.
So I know that there's a part of me that can be very unhealed, very troubled, very like dark. And so when I started working on myself psychologically, I had to come to terms with the fact that if I don't have a healthy relationship with my negative thoughts and I don't express them in a healthy way, I know that I become more critical, I become more negative, I become more nasty. It's harder for me to stay as a civilized human being if I don't.
Yes, I think that that's absolutely respectable, and I appreciate that you're sharing that because it is important that people embrace their shadows. As a matter of fact, in therapy, we do shadow work with some clients, and we embrace the parts of us. But I think that it is good that you have that relationship with your shadow self and you embrace it and you try to turn it into something that is more balanced. But to what extent it becomes something hurtful to someone else. And let's just go to psychology basics one on one when people are projecting, because we're talking about criticism for the sake of criticism and putting people
Mhm.
down. Is that talking about the person that is being criticized, or is that saying more about the person that is criticizing for the sake of criticizing,
I
even if
think
they're in touch with their
just
shadow?
the latter, 100%.
So tell
Yeah.
me again what you want to say to me about me. That is your perception of me, and that is going to be speaking more about you than it speaks about me. So I don't know. I think you're correct. It's a necessity of humans again because it's human nature to get in touch with the shadow, and that's totally okay to do. But I think it's unhinged these days. I think we're just going overboard with this because it's out of control.
Mhm.
Like it happens everywhere for any reason. And I am one to really speak about kindness. Like I really try, try my best. But any messages about kindness and stuff like that, let's just try to put that good vibe out there. That's the kind of person that I am. But of course, I do have my dark side too, like you said, like every human does.
Yeah.
But I just think it's interesting how, on the one hand, we're seeing a lot of messages about being kind, being nice, good vibes. And then on the other hand, people criticize each other merciless. It's just,
Mhm.
it's outrageous the way that happens.
So I want to clarify for anyone who may be thinking about working with their own shadow. I want to clarify some of the ways in which I build my relationship with that side is in visualization exercises. So I go in the sauna and I'll spend 10-15 minutes in the sauna and I do a visualization exercise where I sit across from the part of myself that may hold anger or that may hold resentment or bitterness or unhealed parts of me. And I visualize a conversation with it, or sometimes I visualize myself like warring with that part of me. Sometimes we need to like literally have a knockdown drag out kind of experience with each other. And other ways that I do it is I exercise, and some days the exercise has to be a little bit more brutal than others. So sometimes it's a little bit heavier and a little bit like all of my strength has to be put into it because I had a rough day where that shadow self wanted to come out a little bit too much, and it wouldn't be healthy for me to go about society uh, with those feelings. So I go into the gym instead, or I do a really heavy duty swimming lesson or something like that. So those are some ways in which I work through my shadow in a healthy way. I think that people are working through their own shadow experience without realizing it in a completely unhealthy way by just again without solicitation, just throwing like just throwing out these really negative thoughts and really negative comments and thinking, oh well, I did something. Like what?
I think well, thank you for sharing that, Jalili. I hope that people can follow some sort of suggestion. Not exactly what you have done because everyone is different, but definitely embracing and working on their shadow or with their shadow in a healthy way. What I wanted to say is that I can think of again human nature of bullying, because we are definitely primates in a sense, right? And there has to be some sort of proof of domination in groups and things like that. So the person that doesn't fit the group is going to be bullied or pushed out. So that has been there since humans are humans, and little people do it. You look at a group of children and they're gonna do that. They're gonna be mean to one another for no reason, and they have no filter. Like if you want to hear the truth, you can hear it
Exactly.
from a drunk person or a child, right? Like, yeah, no innovations there. But so yeah, I think mainly is just trying to work with. I would say if you have something to say to someone else that seems criticism to that person, you can filter it through different gates, such as is it true, is it necessary, is it kind. That's just a principle, again, from Buddhism that I like to think about. So do I really need to say this? Why am I saying it? Is it kind? What is the effect that it's going to cause? Of course, people don't think a lot about that, but it's something that I would suggest as a
Mhm.
clinician that we think about. Why are we saying this? Am I saying this just because I want to blurt it out? Am I saying it because I want to hurt the person? Because I have freedom of speech? What is the reason behind that? Since we're talking about the subject too, I wanted to say that the person that is being criticized can turn this around and make it a strength, like transform that into a strength. There is a woman that is a motivational speaker that I admire very much, and her name is Lizzie Vasquez. She has a condition that she was born with, and her face, basically, she cannot keep fat in her body. She's like paper thin, and her face is
I've
let's just
seen
not
her.
say your typical face.
Yeah.
And she found out through a YouTube video when she was in high school that she was voted the ugliest woman in the world, and people were just ganging up on her and destroying her. And so, thankfully, she had really good foundations in her home and loving parents and a good self esteem. Um, uh, Against odds, and she just became a motivational speaker out of that. So it is really amazing to see how someone who was destined to be criticized, put down, doesn't fit the profile, what society tells us that beauty should be, has turned this around and made it a blessing in her life, inspiring other people.
Hmm.
So that would be a flip side of the negative criticism.
Absolutely. I think that, you know, understanding, I think number one, understanding that when you are criticized, both, wait, when you're criticized and when you are praised, both have underlying meanings for the people that are doing it. What do they want from this? What are they trying to get out of this? So, has the person receiving the praise or the criticism, you should be thinking, what is this person accomplishing or getting out of doing this? Whether it's through me or through the just the method or the attention, what is it that they're getting out of it? And how much does it really like play into my personal experience and my life? So, the people that were criticizing the motivational speaker that you speak of, and I know exactly who you're talking about. I can even picture her in my mind. Those people who were criticizing her, she can sit and think, what are they trying to accomplish through the criticism, through targeting me in particular? What are they getting out of it? And is it about me, or is it more about what they're going to get from it? Is it about the attention they're going to get from it? Is it the fact that they get to say whatever they want because the protection of social of the screen and the anonymity of it? What exactly is it? Is it just that they get to feed the monster of insecurity? And the the next layer to that is understanding that oftentimes when we are taken aback by someone else and we're like um not disgusted but like really discomforted by someone else, it typically the thing that makes us uncomfortable is the thing that we're uncomfortable in ourselves.
This is true, yeah. I think it would be interesting in another topic for our conversations is to talk about microaggressions because we're getting into that kind of a subject, but that's a different matter. So going
Okay.
back to putting people down, what I was thinking is that sometimes we have not only that shadow, but I'm going to go a little further down in the psychology lane with transaction analysis from Eric Bernay, and how he used to say that we have the not okay child. I mean, this is like Freudian stuff anyway, but
Mhm.
the not okay child is going to go ahead and bully other people. It's going to
Mhm.
say you're going to find the same words, like that negative criticism often comes with words that are keywords.
Mhm.
So you're ugly, you're fat, you're stupid, you're old,
Mhm.
your accent gets on the way, you're white, I mean you're black, whatever it is that they can throw at you that is going to make you feel bad about yourself, supposedly because it doesn't fit what what society tells us that we're supposed to look like. That's what you're going to hear with the negative criticism, and I think that that's the difference between constructive criticism that you were
Mhm.
talking about and just negative criticism for the sake of negative criticism.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, those keywords definitely are there. So that's why I was saying, how are we talking about other people? What are we saying to that person? What is the feedback that we're giving? Are we just utilizing those keywords in some sort of way to try to get our point across? You're disabled, that's another one. Or like, well, I mean, not that they're gonna say that to your face, but I think thankfully we're more aware about
Mhm.
certain things these days, at least in person. But like you said, if you do it in social media, oh my God, people call each other all kinds of things online. So,
And I think the worst part too is that these days you don't really need a whole lot of information. You don't need to fact check yourself. Like literally, I've had people. I've seen comments from people who all they have, the worth of the knowledge that they have about the subject is 10 seconds of a sliced video on
yeah,
TikTok or
yeah.
YouTube. And it's like, well, where's the rest of the story? Where's the other angle? And they're like, well, I don't need to know anymore. And I've actually had
Mm.
people say it out loud. They say, I don't need to know. This is everything I need to know. I'm not about to go and try and do research, and because that's just gonna feed what the other person wants me to do. And I'm just not going to do it. And I think that's so ignorant. But um all in all, the first thing is if you are a person who has experienced criticism, unnecessary criticism, and people are, I just have a thought that just popped into my mind. People are going to say if you're posting your things on social media, be ready to be grilled.
Yes.
Just like they said about artists, just like they say about
Can,
authors, just like
can
they
I
say about.
Can I add something to that if you don't
Yeah,
mind? So again,
yeah,
just a little bit of personal experiences. I don't want to put anybody on the spot here. I want to put myself in the example today.
yeah.
So I am very proud of my physique at my age, and I will continue to be because I take care of myself, and I'm so proud of that. So I have had pictures in bikini in my social media. You wouldn't believe the amount of stuff that I get. Like, that's cheap, cover yourself up, you're too old, what are you trying to do? So it's like, I'm not doing this for people to recognize, I'm doing it because I'm proud of me.
Hmm.
So you're absolutely right. When you put stuff out there, be ready, because it's just gonna rain and pour, and every possible thing that you put out there they're gonna pick apart. Even in real life that happens too. But anyway, I just wanted to add that. I'm so sorry.
Well, so let's say that people do tell you, well, if you put it out there, it's for a free for all. Anybody can say whatever they want.
Yes.
Okay, if you are the person experiencing the criticism, I would recommend that you take this as an exercise in just understanding which one of those comments triggered you the worst, which one of those specific words were the hardest to forget or the hardest to get past. And then use the information that you're being given, even though it's being given in a terrible way, but use that information, read between the lines, go beyond the cheap comment and the unnecessary crudeness, and look at what's between the lines and then use it to help yourself.
You can always turn it around. Yes.
Yeah, help
Hmm.
yourself to identify, oh, I didn't realize I was so sensitive about this thing, or I
Hmm.
didn't realize that I had some unresolved fears or insecurities about this thing.
Definitely, there is always that option of recognizing why is it stinging? Why does it bother me if it bothers me? That is absolutely a great point, Jalili. Thank you for that. Absolutely, yeah.
And then on the other side of the coin, if you are the type of person who feels the need, and you may or may not follow this suggestion, you're you may feel like you are entirely justified in doing these things and making these comments. But if you were to take a moment of self-reflection, maybe the suggestion will get through to you. But if you are the type of person that feels the need to be critical and send rude feedback, rude comments, unnecessarily rude things, to other people or in social media or wherever. If the first thing that comes into your mind is the first thing that comes out of your mouth and you call that honesty when it really isn't, maybe you should also take a moment of self reflection and ask yourself, why is it that I am more prone to giving negative feedback than positive feedback? What is it about me, my experience, my life, my background, my way of thinking, my way of feeling, how I see the world that makes me someone who is more prone to criticizing and to judging others than to building others and helping others? And let's not fool ourselves into believing that by you destroying the character of a person by nitpicking their some aspects of themselves that they can't even possibly change, even if they wanted to, you're somehow a hero or you're somehow doing the world a service, because you're not. And I think it is important to consider what part of my mind is ruling my decision to make this type of comment or to say these things, and then work on that.
And one more thing that I wanted to add to your comment is for the people who are receiving criticism that is unwanted or mean, there is always the possibility for you to be assertive about it and say that you are not comfortable with what you're hearing, and that's totally okay to do.
Mhm.
So, because oftentimes we are caught like off guard with the negative feedback or the mean feedback, and we're like, oh my gosh, what do I say to that? So for us introverts, we think about it later in the shower or 2 years later. I should have said this. But it's totally okay to say something like, I feel uncomfortable with your comment. I appreciate if you don't bring something like that again to my attention. It's perfectly okay to do that assertively.
Mhm. Or you can, you can turn it around and you can say to the person, it I can tell that there's definitely something going on with you. Um because like this amount of rage and this amount of just unnecessary cruelty, like
What's up?
what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, are you okay? Do you need a hug? Like, um, because I do feel yeah, because I do feel like sometimes, we need to call it out. It just just ask the person, like, "Whoa,
Actually,
where did that come from?"
a good point, Jalili, because in situations that I have heard about from clients and personal situations too, some people just take it out on others because they're unhappy or they're going through something. And I have heard of people that said what you just said, like, "Are you okay? Can I help you in any way? Is everything okay at home?" And then you find that the person breaks down and says something like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I realized I was being mean. I don't know." So that's a good response.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay,
All
so
right.
we started out with controversy, we're ending with hugs. So we went from Yalily's Hitler to Anna Maria's flower child, and so it was a perfect conclusion for our podcast today. And I hope that you guys enjoyed yourselves and maybe you got a few ideas of how to deal with the trolls. And, maybe some of you who have been experiencing some of those negative thoughts, some of those intrusive thoughts, maybe stop for a second and have thought about it. Like, why have I made that comment recently? Why did I tell that person this? And are doing a little bit of soul searching. So, with that said, I think I'm going to bid goodbye to everyone for today, and I thank you all for joining us. And as always, if you have questions, comments, even if they're cruel, it's okay. We are going to diagnose you every step of the way. So go ahead and throw it
We're
our
tough.
way.
We can take it.
As a matter of fact, we might ask you some additional questions about your childhood to see so we can do the appropriate diagnosis for you and then give you some treatment plans. Um, but thank you so much, everybody, and we appreciate you. And thank you, as always, Dr. Ana Maria, and have a wonderful day.
You too, Jalili. Thank you.